I was 18 years old at the time, just starting to figure things out when I found myself caught in an unexpected emotional roller coaster with a girl. Let's call her Emily. Emily was 18, just like me, and we had shared some incredible times together. But out of nowhere, everything just stopped. It wasn't some gradual fade or a conversation about things not working out. No, she simply ghosted me. One minute we were texting and hanging out, and the next, nothing. No explanation, no warning, no closure. She just disappeared from my life, leaving me hanging. At first, I couldn't understand what had happened. I racked my brain for clues, wondering if I'd said something wrong or done something to push her away. I reached out a few times, but she didn't respond. The silence was deafening, and it hurt more than I cared to admit. I had been completely blindsided by this sudden and unexplained absence. But one thing about me is that I've always been a bit of an empath. I tend to take on other people's emotions, and I genuinely care about others' well-being, even if they don't seem to care about mine. So despite the hurt, I didn't let the situation bother me too much. After all, what could I do? She had made her choice, and I was left with nothing but memories of the good times we shared. I tried to move on, but in the back of my mind, a little piece of me still wondered. What happened? Was she okay? Then, fast forward to last week. I was hanging out with a group of friends, just chatting about life, when Emily's name unexpectedly came up in the conversation. It was from a mutual friend of a friend, and they casually mentioned that they thought Emily and I were still together. I could tell they didn't know what had really happened between us, so I explained that we hadn't been together for months. The conversation carried on, but for some reason, it stirred something inside me. I had spent so much time trying to forget about her, but here I was, thinking about her again. I couldn't help but wonder, how had she been? Was she doing okay? Had she moved on? And then, that old familiar feeling crept up. I realized that even though she had ghosted me without a word, I still cared about her. I wasn't the kind of person to hold grudges, and the more I thought about it, the more I figured it wouldn't hurt to check in on her. Maybe she was going through something. After all, people sometimes do things when they're in pain or dealing with their own struggles. I decided I would reach out, not directly since I knew she had me blocked on every platform, but through a mutual friend who I trusted. So, I texted her friend, Sarah. Sarah was a cool person, always friendly, and I knew she would be understanding. When I asked her if Emily was doing all right, Sarah responded pretty quickly, saying that everything was fine. She didn't seem to think much of it. I asked if I could speak to Emily, but she mentioned that Emily wasn't really talking to anyone much lately. Still, I was relieved to hear that there was no major drama going on, at least not from what Sarah had mentioned. However, things took a very strange turn not long after. A few hours later, I received a message from Sarah that completely threw me off guard. She had sent me a text, acting as if Emily was gone, dead. I immediately froze, staring at my phone screen. The message read, "Hey, just wanted to let you know that Emily passed away. It's been really hard on everyone, but we're all trying to stay strong. Please keep her in your thoughts." I was in complete shock. My heart sank. I couldn't believe it. It was like a punch to the gut. I mean, Emily and I hadn't talked in months, but the idea that she was gone, it just didn't make sense. I thought about it for a few moments, my mind racing with questions. Could this be a sick joke? Was she really gone? Or was someone messing with me? And who was this message really from? It didn't take long for me to realize something strange. This wasn't the first time I'd heard of someone pulling this stunt. I vaguely remembered that Emily had done something similar to her previous boyfriend, a guy who had been in a relationship with her right before I was. He had told me once that she had pulled a death act on him to make him feel guilty. I didn't know all the details, but I'd always been a little suspicious of the whole thing. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that I was dealing with something much bigger than just a simple ghosting. This was manipulation, plain and simple. I was furious, but there was also a part of me that felt something deeper, an urge for justice. No one deserved to be treated like that, and certainly not me. I had been hurt, and now she was trying to make me feel guilty by making it seem like she was dead. That's when I knew. I wasn't going to let this slide. If she wanted to play games with me, then I was going to show her just how far I was willing to go. So, me and a few of my friends, who had all been following the bizarre situation, came up with a plan. We decided that we would pay Emily a visit. But this wouldn't be a simple check-in. No, this would be a grand gesture, a way to get back at her for trying to manipulate my emotions. We came up with the idea to drive 51 minutes to her house and pay our respects to her, as ridiculous as it sounded. But we weren't just going to show up empty-handed. No, we wanted to make a statement. So, we came up with a plan. We would head to the nearest gas station, buy every single flower they had, and put together a big floral tribute. I know it sounds like a lot, but it felt fitting. Over the top and utterly ridiculous, just like the whole situation. But here's the kicker. We were going to add some glitter to the bouquet. Not just any glitter, but the finest, most eye-catching glitter we could find at the dollar store. The kind that would get everywhere and make sure she would remember this moment for a long time. With the flowers ready, we piled into the car and drove to her house. The whole ride, we couldn't stop laughing at how crazy the idea was, but there was also a sense of satisfaction building inside me. I wasn't going to be the one who got manipulated or made to feel guilty anymore. It was my turn to turn the tables. We arrived at her place, and I told my friends to hang back while I went up to her porch alone. The flowers, glitter and all, were carefully arranged in a basket, and I walked up to her door. My heart was racing, but I kept my composure. I knocked on the door and waited. To my surprise, Emily's dad answered the door. He looked confused as I stood there, holding the flowers in my hands. I put on my best solemn face and said, "I'm sorry for your loss." Emily meant so much to me, and it's sad to see her go. Her dad's expression immediately turned from confusion to concern, and then to confusion again. "What are you talking about? Emily's not dead," he exclaimed. I had to hold back a smirk. This was perfect. I didn't say anything more. I just turned and walked back to the car. As I reached the car, I could see Emily and her friends pulling up in her car. Emily's eyes widened when she saw me standing there with the flower still in hand. "What are you doing here?" she asked, clearly caught off guard. I looked at her, and without missing a beat, I replied, "I thought you died." Her face went pale, and I could tell that the situation had completely spiraled out of her control. Her dad came running out after me, clearly furious. He started yelling at her for causing this whole mess and threatening to take away her privileges for the rest of the summer. The best part? Emily's dad ended up giving each of us $20 for the inconvenience and gas money. It felt like sweet, sweet justice. In the end, I don't know what happened with Emily after that. She never reached out to apologize or explain herself. But honestly, I didn't need any closure from her. I had gotten what I wanted, a way to make her feel the consequences of her actions. It wasn't about revenge for revenge's sake. It was about standing up for myself, something I hadn't done enough in the past. Looking back, I can't help but laugh at how insane the whole thing was. But it felt good to take control of my own emotions and let go of the hurt she caused. I never saw her again after that day. And I'm okay with that. Some people aren't meant to be in your life forever, and that's okay. The moral of the story? Don't mess with someone who's been hurt. They might just turn your ridiculous stunt into a story they'll never forget.